country, regional, global roles. Um, I've been in various situations. My roles in marketing is about influence, and I need to make sure that the entire community of my sales leaders, my product managers, my finance leads, everybody is in sync with the ideologies, and we're working towards a common goal. So influence is very big for me. But I echo Sudeshna's point. I mean, power for me is about positive influence, and if you are going with that mindset and you bring your authentic voice to the table, I think that's why these wonderful people on the panel. I'm so inspired by all of your journeys. I feel powerful just because that energy is coming to me, and I think different cultures. There was another perspective about culture. So I've been in a room where every fourth person is from a different country and brings a different perspective to the table. And so the problem that we face, their frame of reference is so different from me growing up as an Indian versus someone who's grown up in Indonesia or China or US or in UK, because that frame of reference is very, very different. So understanding that and making sure we're all moving towards the same goal is a very challenging thing. And I think the power comes from making sure that we do that and move with a common goal.
Amazing. I think so many definitions and so unique from all different industries we got to know today. Specifically, talking about quality over quantity, impact creation, not underestimating oneself, C square, control, light, eliminating, and so much of more. So I think great start about how we redefine power now these days. So moving forward, we often talk about fitting into existing leadership molds. What is one rule of leadership you were taught early in the career and now you consciously break or not no longer believe in? So open this floor is open to you now for discussion.
So I can start if
Go ahead,
um,
Sareshna.
yeah.
Yeah.
So not early in my career, but as a kid, while growing up, while looking at what our parents are doing, what our uncle and aunts are doing, I had a very hierarchical mindset about leadership. My uncle, he was in the civil services, he was a commissioner of customs. My father was in a factory, which was a manufacturing unit. And so everything was okay. A deputy general manager means something there, or IPS officer means something there. So that whole hierarchy was set in my head. And I would say, fortunately, I have worked in an industry, and while preparing or while joining the IT industry, I never really thought, okay, they have a great working culture, and that's why I'm joining. I did not think of this aspect. But ever since I have joined, be it within my organization, be it when I'm interacting with my customer, my partners, vendors, everybody, the whole hierarchy doesn't exist. And that whole thing in how we are working together as a team. Even today, if I have a 1 year experience team member, her interaction with me, even my boss's interaction with me 25 years back, it is so flat, and nobody has really, I think, designed it. It grew with the industry. So that is the best thing, and it has redefined itself. It has redefined itself, and now is an era where we will have even non-human agents working with us. So how do we utilize technology? And I'm sure uh, there are better experts here. Um, Tula, you will be able to say that the whole aspect of even the perspective of how you set up a HR organization, utilizing the technology bots that we will have among us, and how do we humans change our relationship or modify it. That itself, I think the foundation was made when this industry started, because there were no set definition, and there is an excellent I would say environment, not only with interaction with leadership, but also about grooming leadership, so that you really come out to your best eventually in the rest of your career.
No, I completely agree with you. I just want to put a few points to say, this is the buzzword today, AI, and what will it do to our jobs, or what will it do to our future generation, and how can we take it forward? I have a book published which is called "The Heart is the New Brain," and it's not because it's a book published that I'm talking about, but because hence when you write a book, you research day in and day out. And what it has come out is to say that the heart is the new brain, to say not only is it's the brain which does all the work, the heart actually contributes to a lot of it, and the heart has its own brain. The point I'm trying to bring about here is to say, with the advent of technology, and we thinking that AI or the technology will master over our logic and will be able to do work much better than us. What remains with us then is the emotion. What remains, so let's say AI takes over the IQ, the EQ still remains. So it's a battle of now, IQ versus EQ. And if as humans, then if we control our emotions, or if we take our emotions as the primary focus, see, then there's a lot of progress that we can still make, because that's the point that we are believing, even with agentic AI, that AI as the development way forward will probably not be able to master. Now, why I'm trying to put this in the perspective of today's discussion is to say women in leadership, or women, in general, they typically have an edge over this emotional aspect, this emotional resilience. So what women bring on the table, mostly better than men, if I may say, call out, is to say they're more emotionally resilient. They are more emotionally attuned to the structure that everyone's brought up, irrespective of fact, whichever country you are at, of a nature of nurturing, of a nature of trying to bring everyone to a table and taking the team forward. So, if the way forward, so my final understanding of this whole concept is if the way forward is the AI taking over our brains in a better and a faster manner, and what remains with us is the heart, and then and if women are better at managing the heart issue, then the future is all female. Nothing defies that logic. So that's the point I wanted to bring about.
Yeah, I think heart is what will sustain us and has always sustained us in the longer term.
Yeah.
But the risk of putting our hearts up front in the world where instant gratification is big is something that I'll caution against. Now, my very first boss actually taught me this lesson, and the words that he used was never work for instant gratification. Power comes from listening, whichever and whoever your stakeholder, and especially because you're in college and all of you who are listening into the call, you're starting or in very early stages of starting your career. The first thing to power is listening, and then listening and understanding, and then reacting. But in an Instagram world, we are now conditioned to to kind of get instant gratification, and I think that's the risk that of the world that we live in. Excuse me, I'm battling a very bad viral, so excuse me for that. So yeah, I think that's the only risk. I would say if and especially all of the experienced panelists on the call, one thing that's common to I think most of us through our careers would be we've spent our time learning and listening, understanding, and then reacting. I think power comes from that as a foundational value that you need to succeed. So whether it's we live in an AI
Absolutely.
world or non-AI, yeah.
Because we have
Yes.
been talking so much about AI. One rule that, I would like to chime in, because one rule that I have always been taught very early in my career was that
leaders must always appear very certain or confident. Now, that assumption was that confidence signals competence. It actually signals your competence, and your confidence and everything positions you in a very well place. But that in the fields like AI, because as Tula also mentioned and as Suchi also talked about, in the fields like AI, data science, and emerging technology, that mindset is not just unrealistic, rather it can actually be dangerous. Because we are constantly working with the systems where the data may be incomplete. We are not sure that what kind of data are we sourcing, or whether all the sample sets are actually represented. The environment is evolving, the socio-dynamics, the macroeconomic conditions, everything is evolving. The consequences of decisions may only become visible much later when we have adopted the system, we have enacted on that. So the leadership rule that I consciously break today, Isha, to answer your question, is the idea that leaders must always have the answer. Instead, I believe that the role of a modern leader or in advanced leadership, it is more about to create a structured inquiry, a cohesive one, a semantically coherent one. And to make that practical, I have always used, I mean, these days I have been using the simple framework, that is the three clarity zones. I know, we came through the C square framework. This is the three clarity zones. Zone one is about what we know. So what do the data, experiments, and the evidence clearly support in the field of AI and data science? Zone two is about what we don't yet know. That is more about where are the uncertainties or assumptions or the blind spots lying. And the third zone is more about how we will learn. That is about how the experiments, pilots, or analysis that is going to help us reduce that uncertainty. I'll cite a very simple example, right? So let's say we are using a model, right? There are eminent panelists from the BFSI sector, right? So you might be using some fraud detection algorithm or some model, right? Now that model might show you very high accuracy in testing environments, and a traditional leadership response might be great. I mean, we are getting good accuracy, we are getting, good prediction results and all. Let's deploy it immediately. But as a leader, what I have learned through the years of experience is that how can I create intelligent inquiry or a structured one that can say that we know that the model performs well on the historical data. What we don't know yet is how it will behave fraud patterns as the fraud patterns are evolving, because there are a lot of sociodynamics that is actually happening. So before even scaling, let's actually run the controlled pilots instead of just deploying it fully. So that kind of mindset in terms of taking it slow, being vulnerable, understanding that no, I don't know everything, I'm here to learn it all, I'm here to understand what's actually going on, what's going to evolve, and then respond to that kind of situation, is something that I have learned through my experience.
I think very well put, Aparna, and by the others as well. Taking a different perspective on this, while we are in the AI space, I think the leadership rule that I break now versus, in the initial part of my career is if it is compliant, technically compliant, then it is okay. In the AI world, for example, we're seeing it now. AI and the algorithms and everything else that is bringing, but is it ethical? So from a compliance to a conscious, what is our conscious saying about it? I think that is the mindset change, the leadership trait change that I have seen in my career, at least. It's not about how, it's not about the what, but it's also about, should we do it? That's
Yeah.
the change in the leadership perspective that I have brought about in my career.
Absolutely, Rashmi, I totally resonate with you, because when we as leaders are working onto these kind of with this kind of mindset, we are creating intellectual honesty, right? That has the capability to unlock the full analytical capability of the organization rather than working on a fragmented system. So very well put. I do echo your thoughts.
I will, I think most of the panelists have already covered what I had thought, but just one additional thing I would like to say is that very early on, maybe because we don't know that the environment we are working, whether it culturally, what is acceptable, not acceptable, when you're very new to an organization or to the role, it takes time to build up relationship, to build up expertise, your credibility and everything. However, I would say what consciously the rule I break every day is to speak up to what ideas are coming into my mind, whether I want to get that a validation or to just to see that am I thinking on the right track, you discuss it respectfully with the people who are in the system, right? To bring it up. It can't be that the ideas don't come with seniority. They don't come with just experience. They can come from a very different perspective as well, depending on if you are coming from different backgrounds or you're just, you're looking at things in a very different way. So I would say speak up and, never feel that at what level I am, in what room I'm sitting, whether it is okay to speak right now or not, or to park it for later, or it won't matter, or it won't, add any value. So I would say no questions or ideas are bad. You might have different, I'm not trying to paint a very good picture here. There might be environments where it might not be welcomed or not accepted as compared to the others. However, speak your mind, because that's the only way to find whether it's gonna work or not, or you are thinking on the right track or not. It's a conscious effort every day, I guess. We all struggle at whichever level. Does it make sense? Will it make sense if I speak now or later, or do I know enough to add on to this particular topic or not? So yeah.
Very important to be authentic. You're very right, Sumedha.
Yeah, thank you.
I think even I can relate a lot from this, and speaking up is really, really important while you're day to day being there in office. And if you're not, really expressing yourself, then the leadership is then a doubt. But yeah, that's exactly. And also, Miss Tula spoke about the different strengths that we all bring to the table. Now I further want to discuss how women lead differently. So do you think women bring a different leadership style to organization, and if yes, how? So any
Yeah,
thoughts on?
yeah,
Yeah.
Isha, see, just taking up, I'm sure others have to add as well. Just taking up from what I said earlier, power or women lead the power of women leaders is beautifully turning chaos into something of a creation, because that's what they've been doing all through. Even when you are let's say when you enter your motherhood, you try turning that little bundle of joy who's creating chaos everywhere into trying to create him or her into something beautiful. So goes for the organization, so goes for the culture, that today in India, we are mostly tied up in a family kind of a culture, although the families are becoming smaller, but the culture still remains. So you still, girls are taught early in their career, early in their life to kind of settle everything, to bring everything together. So we're always trying to ensure that everything goes well, everyone is in tune, and everyone's going together. So and in turn, there's a lot of, as I said earlier, emotional resilience that comes in. You learn to control your emotions at an early stage. You learn to ensure that there's an impact which is created on others, and that just flows in naturally. Those skills flows in naturally to your workplace. You deal a lot with empathy. So one of the key differentiating factors that probably women leaders bring on the table is leading with empathy, which we're trying to teach men through workshops and through a lot of talks these days. How do you lead with empathy? How do you create an impact? But I think that's an inbuilt success trait that women already possess from the time they're born, or the social conditioning that they have currently.
Yeah, I would like to add that, I don't see exactly that what a women leader or, a male leader is bringing. I think a leader is a leader. That comes from my Air Force days as well, that the plane doesn't know who's flying it, right? It's more that how your skills are, what skills you bring. However, because of our feminine and masculine energies, what Tula already mentioned, right? There is an aspect of nurturer. There's an aspect of being more empathetic. Not to say that men are not. I know we have so many male, students in the conclave today. We are not saying that we are better, but this is something a little edge, or it comes with the personality of being a woman. But I do see whether it's the part of the changing social dynamics, or it's like Tula mentioned, that there are some workshops going on. It could be impact of that, and how open we are becoming, discussing the differences and leading with that diversity, and not fitting into a man's world, not saying that I have to become like a male leader, or I have to wear the pants to take decisions. No, it's to carry our own authentic self and bring what we can. And I think beautifully all of us together can co-create things, rather than just saying that, oh, what a woman leader can do better or worse. But yes, having those opportunities and having that level equality for all of us is much more important, I would say.
I so
Yeah,
agree,
that
Completely agree.
Sumedha. So absolutely, leadership is not about or strength. We all, be it men or women, they all bring different perspectives, different strength to the table. And in a way, it's all about diversity. And diversity is not just about how many women we are having. Diversity is about gender. It's about age. It's about cultural nuances. It's much more than what we have been accustomed to, the definition that it's just men and women. No, that's not the case. This is what even I strongly feel, right? Men are equally important. And believe me, I have had a lot of male allies throughout my career who have been very supporting in terms of, my growth, in terms of imparting their knowledge and imparting their experiences when I needed it the most. So I won't say that, it is just about women. I think together as a leader, it's more about bringing in the contextual intelligence that we bring to the table based on our experience, our cultural nuances, our background and other such things. And also it is about deciding or creating the system level awareness, the ability to connect the technology, people, and the long term impact. I think that's the capability as leader, be it men or women, naturally we bring to the decision making table.
I think I totally agree with what Aparna and the other panelists have said. I don't think, in my opinion, there is no really a woman way of being a leader, because at least in my career, I have seen all kind of women leaders. The alpha woman leader who's very aggressive, to the leader who is a people, prefer to be a people leader and an empathetic leader. And both kind of women leaders have survived, and both of them have produced excellent results. What I have seen in my career. So basically, saying that a woman brings a different kind of a leadership, yes, I think by virtue of the feminine and energy that we bring, totally agree with that. But after that, at the end of it, I think it's just what value you're bringing to the table. I think that's what counts at the end of it. Nobody is here looking at whether you're a man or a woman. I think at the end of the day, what is being seen by everybody and appreciated by everybody is, are you bringing value to the table? And you can do that with your own set of values. You can do it with the way you have been brought up, with the way your own feminine energy. Or if you think aggressive, you are very ambitious about your targets. I think as women, we can take in everything. You just have to bring your authentic self, as some of the others have previously also mentioned. Just be your authentic self, and that will become your differentiating factor, irrespective of the fact whether you're a man or a woman.
Absolutely. And that Sumedha, I think she pointed out a very good example, right? That a plane doesn't know who the pilot is, right?
Exactly. Yeah,
It just knows that it's
totally
a
agree with
pilot.
that.
So most of the roles are gender agnostic. I
Yeah.
mean, we are not, trying to fit that, okay, this has to be played by men. There were days when we say doctor, it was used to be men. And when we say nurse, it used to be female. But that gone are those days. And then I think, we are in an era where, I think it is more of gender agnostic. It's more about capability driven, how much
Yeah.
able to contribute to the table in terms of decision making, decision quality, and latency sensitivity.
And
Yeah, I think we are breaking those stereotypes in every walk of life, whether, from cab drivers to people on the petrol pumps. You see, it's not new now to see, women over there also. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
And the
Yes,
value
absolutely.
we bring in also has a background to it, not for everybody, but what I have seen that mostly we women, and it is our choice, nobody has influenced us. Majority of our career, and for many, unfortunately, for the entire career of that, we prefer to be kingmakers and not queens. But that has a positive side also. In the process of being kingmakers, the robustness of the experience we have in building up organization is there so much. We are not at the surface from the day end. I'm not telling our better halves are also there, but that is generally the experience I had heard. And when we really decide to be the queen, that whole experience of that building kingmakers really makes us amazing leaders. That's my
Yeah.
perspective on that.
Yeah, and I grew. I don't know. I think it might be divulging my age here, but I was born in the 70s, and so one of the things that we it came naturally to me as a Indian growing up in India and then moving to Singapore and living there and all of that is you learn to do a lot of things. And I have a child and I have a dog, right? So you learn to manage your lives in so many different ways. I'm a runner, so I train certain muscles in on every single day of the week. So I'll train my shoulder, I'll train my legs, I'll train my so it's the same thing. I think women, especially women like myself born in the 17s, we were trained to work one set of muscles very, very strongly. One of that is empathy, and also simplifying complex problems because we had so much to do within a short period of time. I think the muscle that we built was clarity in things that we do. Now, whether that's a man or a woman, it doesn't matter. But I think if you don't work that muscle, you fail as a leader, right? So having clear ability to make clear decisions, and also dignity in how you treat people. I think empathy comes naturally to a lot of us, but especially for women. In my team, I have somebody who's based in Brazil, somebody who's based in Canada, somebody who's based in Boise, Idaho, somebody who's based in Atlanta or San Diego, very different cultures. And if I don't understand the context that they're coming from, um, I will not succeed as a leader. So I think that's something that comes naturally, I feel, to a lot of women. But I've also worked with a lot of empathetic men leaders, and I think they're very successful. All of the leaders that, in my definition, have been successful are high on empathy quotient. So, and I think empathy is the muscle that I was talking about. As women, and as an Indian woman growing up in India, as a Malayali woman who's grown up in different parts of India, I think that's a muscle that I have. I feel I have built. It comes naturally, and that's what I take to my roles as well. So I think that's what I would say is the little nuance of difference of being a woman and a man leader. Some of the muscles are better developed.
Great, great. I think that's a very unique perspective. And yeah, I think we spoke about power, we spoke about breaking rules, leaderships, and so on. So, what I want to now ask about for all the students here and for somebody who is in the beginning of their career. So, many women face a difficult balance, specifically being confident but not seen as aggressive, being empathetic but still authoritative. So, how have you personally navigated the balance between leading with authority or leading with empathy? So, this is something, if you can guide us to all the new generations coming into the corporate.
Isha, I think the new generation does not identify with the word authority. I tell my child, do this, and he'll definitely not do this. And so I think that that concept of authority is completely gone. So I don't have a choice, but I have to lead with empathy. It's only when I'm a friend to him or her, my children, my child's friends in the same category, do they listen? Else they do not. And these are the kids who are coming into the workforce. So if that's the mindset that they have at home, that's the mindset they're carrying at work. So I don't think leaders here have a choice to lead with authority, because then I think the impact will not be there. And leading with empathy, and hence is the way forward. For me, it's crystal clear, very well learned throughout the life. Being a mother, being at work with team members who come from different sets of different mindsets. Authority does not work anymore. At least in my set of industry that I am working with, it's a people intensive industry. So you really have to deal with many people, different kinds of people at all levels. You need that kind of a people intensive structure to guide through. So authority is out of the window now for me.
I also
Yeah.
think, we are sitting at the intersection of technology, human behavior, ethics, and long-term societal impact, right? And so to the individuals who are aspiring to get into the leadership roles in the time to come. So the demand, what I can recommend them, that be the person who can connect discipline, integrate the perspectives, and also create the congenial environments where collective intelligence emerges. So if there is a pattern, we often observe, in many leaders, it is this that, focus on just instead of just focusing on one thing, and instead of being just the most authoritative voice in the room, ensure that the room that you are in, it produces the best possible thing. It produces the best quality decision. It's not just about how many decisions I made. It's about the qualitative aspect of it. It's about the timeliness of it. We all can, if a building catches a fire and we call a fire brigade, it's a good decision. But then have we called it in time or not? I think that also matters. So be the person who can connect the different aspects of the things, understand the things holistically. Technology wise, I'm sure, you all are very bright minds and the students are very bright minds here. So I'm sure, they're going to learn a lot and contribute to the community a lot. But it is more about creating that kind of understanding and nuances and trade-offs, that what gets suffered when I'm actually, benefiting something else.
Yeah, I think we have a lot of panelists from the BFSI and from the compliance side. So what Aparna mentioned, that we have to have a right balance of discipline, as well as the new things that we can try on with the technology or how we are leading. So going back to Isha's question, right? I think sometimes we have to balance between both, and it may come at a point that even within the same team, if you have a larger team, you will appear as a very different leader to different team members, because depending on what how they are looking at you, you might also have to adapt to a different leadership style, which are becoming very, very fluid these days. You can't be just one kind of leader. I think it's situation based. It is also a person or sub team based, that how do you manage those certain set of people versus what their delivery is, how impactful their delivery is. Is it something very repetitive in nature? Is it something, which is low or low risk sort of thing? But if it is high risk or things at stake, then you might have to wear that authority cap, because you can't let your system fall, you can't let your system break. So I'm not saying that just think that I am an authoritative leader and I will be authoritative all the time, or I want to be an empathetic all the time. Probably that's people who have children, they know it much more, that sometimes it's a balance between both, depending on what age they are, what situation they are going through. So I would say both are important. You may naturally get influenced or get gravitated towards one of the other, depending on your personality. But at times it becomes very important to navigate or balance between both of them. So yeah.
I'll agree with that, Sumita. I think very well put. Coming from my experience as a legal compliance governance professional, people might think that, in our role, the authority is coming from the rule book. But over the years,
They
what
feel
we
that
have
they are
realized
internal
is,
police.
yeah. But then, if you lead without empathy, then it can look like policing.
Yeah.
So I think my take on this is, in a regulated setup, like the industry that I come from, wherein all the regulators of all the worlds are looking upon you in terms of conformance to standards and what they expect from you. You have to be hard on the process maybe, but you have to be soft with people. So you have to
Yes.
know, if there has been something that has been done, you have to be empathetic to understand why is it that it has happened that way. But at the same time, to maintain the credibility of your organization, especially in a regulated sector like our sector, it is important for you to be able to make people understand the need for following certain processes and why they have been set up. But I totally echo with all the other points that have been said, that we are living in an age wherein you cannot just lead with authority. You have to make people understand the why behind it as well, and then you have to
Yeah,
be
and
empathetic, as you
yeah,
said,
and
different leadership styles to different people.
Yeah, I agree. And I don't think empathy means you don't take hard decision. Empathy just means that you are understanding the human context behind the decisions,
Exactly.
right?
Correct.
So
Yeah.
empathy does not, no leader will succeed by being soft or not having clarity. If you don't have clarity of where you're heading, uh, uh, I mean, there's no balance of authority and empathy. Empathy comes from being clear about decision, understanding the human context, and respecting the individual, and having the right people on the right jobs to be able to do that job forward. So, yeah, leaders' empathy is not equal to not taking hard decisions. We take hard decisions every
Correct.
day and
And
very
not
tough ones.
not necessarily that everyone will look at you as a good leader, if you're taking, if they are, those decisions are coming very hard on them. So it's not necessary that you're liked by everyone because you're an
Yeah, yeah.
empathetic
You
leader.
don't have to be in the race to become a
Yeah.
popular leader for sure.
Yes.
I think these days it is more about, decisive empathy, because it's it does enable us to, understand what motivates our people, what concerns they may carry, or what alignment naturally exists and where friction may arise. So empathy is not just about, as you all rightly said, it's not just about, having a soft decision point. It's more about having a decisive empathy where we listen deeply, we consider multiple perspectives, we integrate it all and see it as a holistic system. And once the direction becomes clear, we move forward with conviction and moving beyond individual brilliance and getting everything into the picture. So, anchor decisions in purpose, engage people with respect, and moving forward with clarity. I think that's what, empathy means to me.
And
Great. Yeah, please.
times I feel, yes, authority is necessary, but if we really have to put execution successfully, what really helps is if you're leading by example. So, say for example, in my current role, if I have to really push 50,000 people and say that they have to upskill themselves, which is the necessity of the day, I have to start with myself. Once I have done it, everything possible under the earth, say for example, if I have a training, which it's really difficult to do in a 7 days time, I can only tell my team if I have done it within 7 days. And once you set that example, that also helps substantiating that. Everybody's situation might be different. There, the empathy comes in. But if we don't give examples, it's just authority doesn't help in driving because we are not showing them how to do it. And also, when you live through it, it's very easy to guide. In today's world, it's even more important to guide every associate, everyone who you are responsible for, who is working with you, and in any shape and form they are engaged with us in the organization. And unless I live through it, how will I guide? So that really helps.
Well said, Sudeshna.
Yes, actually, it brings so much new perspective to how we thought about empathy and authority. So it goes hand in hand. But yeah, leading by example is something we should definitely look upon. So, adding to what I was talking about, how young women should learn, so there is also a constant pressure to code switch or adapt to fit in the organization. So, how do you stay authentic and true to your voice when you're the only woman in the room or when you're navigating a new culture? So, any thoughts on that?
I could go that's right up my alley. By being fearless. And I think this was addressed earlier by Sumedha potentially, if I remember correctly. You have to have a voice in the room. If you know and if you're competent on the subject, be fearless about asking the question. It can be a wrong question, but don't be afraid. That's the only way you um, build equity with the people in the room. I would say that's my uh, thing. And respectfully, like understand the context and the culture with which, right? As an example, Japan, it's a very different culture, and so much so there was a time when used to go for meetings in Japan. The way you're seated in a room is very different now. as an Indian, I've never experienced that before. So, right, but it's a cultural nuance. I have to be respectful of that, and there is a code of conduct on how and when you speak. You have to understand that culturally. If you're dealing with different types of culture and communities, you have to be mindful of that. You have to learn, educate yourself on that, but be fearless. I mean, that's the only way out. So.
And if I may add on, what Isha mentioned, that what if you are the only woman in the room? And to me, it has happened so many times, and I'm sure to the other panelists also it would have happened. And it is natural sometimes to get intimidated, depending on what the environment is, but don't that one instance won't define you. So don't have your worth tied to just one-off incident, because it might be just a very small dip in the whole spectrum of your life. And also what I feel is more important is having your safety net. That could be your female friends, your female colleagues, your mentors, maybe somebody at your home, maybe your friends who are going through something similar. Because when you think that this is, something first time coming to you and nobody else has experienced it, trust me, that's a wrong voice. Because everybody, or some point or the other, they have gone through some similar experience, or they have some other perspective, because they are not in your place at that time. However, it has to be very cautious that who is the person you are leaning into, what the kind. I would say take the suggestion, but do what, echoes with your values or what aligns with your values. Don't lose yourself in or try to fit into someone else's shoes, that it worked for so and so person and it will work for me. That won't happen, because then you will be probably someday, when you realize after a couple of years, you'll see that I am losing myself, who I am. So you need to change. But I think the workplace friendships are sometimes very underrated. So they can be your biggest strength, the mentors, the friends that you have who can pick you up on day-to-day basis, and do not let just one of, today we are sitting here with all of you, but I'm sure all of us have multiple stories where we felt all of these things, where we felt that, oh, I would have done better, oh, I could have spoken this at that particular time, and maybe I didn't get the right words, or what is it that stopped me from doing it. Maybe it is sometimes very unconscious, or just the conditioning, the way we are brought up, or sometimes we are in a new environment, like what Suchi was referring to, where um, the cultures are very, very different. When to speak, how to speak, what is taken as aggressive, what is taken as polite. So you're always balancing between those, but I would say they are always learning. Just be open to those experiences, and life is beautiful. And we all go through those experiences.
Absolutely. So when I also feel, in those kind of environments, when we are the only women in the room, or navigating through a new environment, the instinct in those moments is most of the time is often to over adapt, to observe the dominant style in the room, and understand, try to mirror it as closely as possible, so that we don't feel left out. And to some degree, that kind of adaptation is also necessary, because every organization and culture has its own communication rhythm, decision styles, and expectations. But over time, what I have learned is that authenticity means that refusing to abandon your core values, while also you are ready to adapt how you express them. In other words, if I have to put it, it's more about adjusting my own communication style, but I'm not going to, compromise on my intellectual integrity. And that's where, to make this practical, I have always followed three anchors. First is the value, second is the voice, and third is the contribution. I think you did mention about speaking up. So what principles guide what I'm thinking to make the decision, that is more about the value, and what perspectives am I bringing that might not already exist in the room to have a better decision quality, that is more about the voice. And also contribution is about, someone in the eminent panelist spoke about the impact part of it. So that's also about the contribution, that how does my perspective improve the quality of the conversation and the outcome. So instead of, thinking that do I belong here, it's more about what perspective can I bring that might otherwise be missing, and getting away from the instinct of over adapting.
Absolutely. I think bringing your authentic self to business and staying true to who you are I think these are the cornerstones.
Yeah.
And if you try and choose to be popular, probably, you'll compromise somewhere on your own self. So don't look at being a popular leader. You cannot always please everybody. There'll always have people with different perspectives than you. You have to adapt to the situation, as has been rightly put by many others, but always be consistent with your own value system. And it requires a lot of, how should I put it, a self-realization into what kind of a person and what kind of a leader are you. I think the more self-aware you are about, what your values stand for, will take you long term into developing yourself as a good and a true leader. So authenticity, I think, is more important than likability, probably.
And I would also like to say, these things we all, what we are sharing is from experience. We didn't know it at day one. Nobody knows it at day one.
It's been a
However,
journey for all of us.
yeah. However, like they say, that good things take time. So even when you are starting new at any place, because I think I started or restarted my career so many times, coming from the forge to the corporate world, and then, going to multiple different roles as well within the organization. So you have to unlearn so many times and then again, come up there. But however, uh, it might not be same the way you were in your -1 stage, or the authority, the power, the influence, the credibility that you had. You might have to rebuild it or reshape it depending on the situation. But trust me, patience is again another trait that we need to have. You trust the process. Earlier, I think Suchi spoke about building the muscle, the muscle for empathy. I think even in the gym, for building any muscle, it needs consistency and patience. It doesn't happen on day one. So consistent efforts on the right track or recalibrating yourself will definitely get where you want to be.
Yeah, and be
Yeah,
prepared to fail. You'll fail so many times, and failure is the biggest lesson to growth. So I think
Yeah.
it's be prepared to fail.
absolutely.
Yes, I think I can completely relate and learn from this. And surely the students of IIM also will be keeping this thoughtful in their mind, thoughts in their mind. So moving forward, all of you have so much deep experience into your industries. So I want to take it forward to each one of you and know more from your experiences and your role in the organization. So starting with Aparna, Miss Aparna, the question to you from the students are: tech moves fast and engineering demands precision. So, but innovation dies without psychology safety. How do you wield your power to create a space where your team feels safe enough to fail, yet driven enough to excel?
Absolutely, Isha. So I also feel, this is a very important question because innovation and psychological safety are often misunderstood as opposites, right? Diametrically opposite, when in reality they both must coexist. And if I have to talk about my experience in the field of engineering and AI and data science, the work we do operates at two very different speeds. When we talk about innovation, we have a lot of exploration, right? That requires freedom to experiment and then also fail. However, the execution that I'm going to talk about, it requires precision and accountability. So as a leader, my responsibility is more to design an environment where both can exist simultaneously. And to do this, generally, there are three principles that I try to anchor my teams around. The very first being that separate your learning from judgment. Now, what does it mean? It means that when my team is exploring a new idea or building something novel, failure is not a defect. It is data. What matters is whether we are learning faster with each iteration. It's the fail fast approach. Second is that make intellectual honesty safe. It is about that people must feel comfortable saying, and that's about the psychological safety aspect of it, that this assumption may be wrong, or we need to rethink this design, or this could be completely, deprecated, this particular system. The most dangerous engineering environment that I have seen in my experience are not the ones where people fail, it are the ones where people hide the uncertainty. And the very third one is that pair psychological safety with high standards, in the sense that safety does not mean that that we are going to have the absence of accountability. It does mean that people know that they can take risk in a calculated way in pursuit of excellence or in pursuit of any kind of innovation. But they must also know that, that the work matters and the bar is the excellence is high. So these are the three principles, Isha, that I generally follow to set the tone of the system. And I'll, give you a very, very, very layman person's example. How many of you are aware of the company 3M? I'm sure, many of you, right? The
Yeah.
Scotch Brite and other such day-to-day products, they are being used. So one of this particular example I often cite to my team as well, that how the Post-it note, we all use the Post-it note, right? And how it was invented at 3M. So there was a scientist at 3M, if I'm not wrong, you can check it on Bing as well. The scientist's name was Spencer Silver. He was trying to create a very strong adhesive, and instead he accidentally created a very weak one. He wanted to create a very strong one, but he created a weak one, something that could just stick lightly but be removed without any kind of damage. Because whenever we stick something to a surface, whenever we take it off, it leaves a mark, it leaves a permanent adhesive stickiness over there. So at first, the people in his organization, to them, it looked like a failure. It didn't solve the problem he was assigned to work on, because he was assigned to work on a very strong adhesive. But the culture of 3M encouraged the scientists to share unexpected results rather than hide them. Years later, another colleague of him, that was Art Fry, he realized that his failed adhesive could actually solve a completely different problem. And bookmarks falling out of the, if you have to put some kind of reminder or some kind of bookmark, and that accidental discovery eventually became the Post-it note, one of the most widely used office products in the world and in the academia as well. So what made that possible was not just technical brilliance, but it was psychological safety, the psychological safety to share the failure so that others can also adopt to it, and others can actually see the value to it and understand what not to do and what to do from the failures. So I think, that was more about taking the failure as a data and learning more from it.
Great, great. I think thank you for such an important, insightful thought. And we are sure like we will keep this in mind going forward. Moving forward to Miss Sudesh now, we wanted to see, you have spent so much of years of experience in data and analytics and have been deeply involved in building communities for women in technology. So, for students in the audience who are curious about AI and data science, what skills or mindset should they start building today to succeed in the world of AI tomorrow?
Thanks. And what I would like to share is, and especially when you also mentioned that about the work that I had done around women in data, and that's very closely related to the advice also, what I want to give to the students. See, now I'm in the industry from 25 years, and something which I would say I learn more from the students of today's generation than how we were. At least I was pathetic in professional network, and it was one of my mentors who really gave me the guidance. And uh, since the time I have really started professional networking, and it never starts like that, okay, what am I going to gain out of it? Because that also takes a while to really understand. So it's important, and even for AI, even for anything, because everything is evolving and there is no start or stop to learning. And every learning is not possible from your books, from your academics, and when you join an organization, from within the organization. So, that is one thing. And especially because today is Women's Day, I would really like to reiterate, for girls, for women students, for those who are joining the industry, for those who are pursuing academics further, please do network. And another reason that's important, again, one of my mentors had told me that self doubt is good for improving yourself further, but don't allow self doubt for others to take advantage of you. And that is the issue which comes to us when we don't speak. When we don't speak, when we really don't come in front, we are bothered that people I might not be knowing the best in the room, or maybe even among the first 10 in the room. So please drop the self doubts. In today's world, at least in and around AI, everybody is learning and we have to keep on learning. So do network. And unfortunately, in any of the recent hackathons, ideathons that you see are running, if you look at the percentage of girl students in colleges, at least I know the engineering colleges, you don't see that percentage of girls really participating in the hackathons, in the ideathons, in different forums. So please come ahead, because we did not have that enablement to even practice 25 years back. So please come ahead, please interact with everybody. Try to get yourself a mentor. He or she can be anybody, whoever can help you out. Reach out to people like us through LinkedIn, through social media, and don't stop. Like we were discussing, right? That only women in the room, right? So get a seat at the table so that you don't become the menu. That's my advice.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you so much for the wonderful words. I think I can definitely relate with it, as I've also started networking in the beginning of my career also, and so does everybody should reach out to all the women, all the leaders, and everybody from there. They can learn something or the other thing. So thank you so much, Sudeshna, for the wonderful words. Now, my next question to Ms. Rashmi. You mentioned that compliance should be woven into the fabric of an organization. So, in practical terms, how can leaders build a culture where employees see compliance not as a restriction, but as a shared responsibility?
I think a very good question, and I can tell you how many times I hear this, from the workforce, especially from the younger generation. But I think, in practical terms, people will stop seeing this as a restriction if they just don't see the what, but they're also able to see the why behind it. I think I mentioned it before as well. You have to know the rationale behind it, of why this is being done, or why this process is being put, or what are the guardrails. At the end of the day, it is going to help you. It'll help protect your business. It'll help protect the reputation of the organization that you're in. So long as the why is clear to people, I think the what becomes irrelevant. And I can, give a very recent example. I'm sure that many people, the student fraternity that we have here, may be looking at it as a case study as well. So there was this company, and I'll ask people to put the name in the comment section if they know the name of the company, and I'll not reveal it here. But this company was a company in the beverages sector, and they were planning to go for an IPO. And they just had to they just changed the name from a private limited company to a limited company. And once they did that, I mean, it was so widely reported in the papers. They probably, I don't know if they took the help, or understood the reasoning behind it, or the impact that it'll have. But just the change of name of theirs, led them to lose excise licenses in all the states of India that they were, because they saw it as a new license instead of just a change in name. And that led to a fall of their entire plan to go ahead with an IPO, and led them to, cancellation of their excise licenses. And just, simple compliance point, how can it lead to a change, and change the fortunes of a company? The company eventually went into losses, and they had to pay a big price for it. So that's the reason why sometimes, the why is important, for you to understand the what. So that's one. And the second thing that, I tell people in my team, and I tell all our stakeholders is, we adopt, and you need to adopt a co-design approach. So you have to involve, for example, business into, when you're devising a process. You have to tell them, you have to ask for their inputs. The question that you ask them is that, okay, I'm not handing you over a manual, but I'm asking you to give your inputs, so that we don't slow you down, but we help you do your business in the right manner, in the manner that is befitting of the culture and the reputation that you're bringing of the business. It is important in a company like ours, which is heavily regulated. We do ratings, and trust becomes a cornerstone. So I think these are the ways in which you can, you can help your stakeholders understand the importance of the value that and the need for you to sort of bring in compliance or legal or governance into the very fabric of the organization.
Very rightly said. I think knowing that some there is a but explaining why it has been done becomes really more comfortable for us to also understand why it has been put. So very rightly said. So my next question to Miss Suchitra. um, Marketing shapes culture, but it also has to sell products. So, how do you balance the power of storytelling with the pressure of delivering business results, especially when trying to connect with diverse group of women consumers? So, knowing that Ms. Suchitra has traveled so much across globe, so we would like to really know how do you maintain that balance here?
Yeah. Isha, I have to first apologize. I'm speaking from a hotel in Hyderabad because I'm traveling and my connection's a bit dodgy. So if I just could get a little hazy, just let me know. I love this question because a lot of the time marketing is perceived as a storytelling engine, but it's actually a commercial discipline. So we start with where is and what is our goal. We start with what is the value we're creating for our shareholders and stakeholders, whether it's in the way of revenue increase, margin increase, growth, going into new markets. So if and I think that's one of the things I will urge all of the people at the early stage of careers thinking about marketing to become very literate on the financial aspects of it. I have a lot of key panelists here from the BFSI industry. Finance is not just the domain of the finance person. Every one of us needs to be very, very literate about what you should be able to read a P&L statement of a company. You should at least have the basic understanding of it. So anyone pursuing marketing leader anyone pursuing marketing as a career needs to have the understanding of the commercials behind it. So we start there, goal setting. We start with asking three important questions. Who's our customer? What's the key customer motivation and needs? And how do we match that while maintaining shareholder value, right? So does it ultimately drive business outcome is my primary consideration. So I try to all of the campaigns that we do, all of the initiatives that we do is uh, designed towards that as a business outcome, and also how do we move behavior, whether that's customer behavior or channel partners behavior. How do we make sure that that's all aligned to the commercials of it? So that's how I would answer that. Again, um, engaging women consumers, I think authenticity matters just as much as engaging male consumers. We need to really understand and understand the cultural nuances. Having, as I said, I've lived in a country where every fourth person was from a different country. My kid went to school where in her class there were kids from 14 different countries, right? So I think I built that muscle to understand what those cultural nuances are, what those do's and don'ts are, and then whether it's a women consumer or male consumer, the nuances are the same. We sell printers that's targeted at school going children, but the narrative is for the mother because, if you've had school going children, we all know that there is a lot of last minute things that come on a Sunday evening and say I need to deliver this this homework or project by tomorrow, and all of us mothers scramble or fathers scramble, right? So understanding those cultural nuances is important, and so women consumers, I feel, are a lot more discerning about that. So, and they're a lot more unforgiving. So you have to bring your authentic voice there, and also spend time understanding what their motivation is in the context of culture. So a mother in living in a metropolitan city like Delhi, and a mother living in say a Talasheri in Kerala, a smaller city, the motivation and needs are there's always a common factor, but also the cultural nuances and the motivations are different. So spending time to understand that is very crucial. I hope that
Sure,
answers
sure.
your question, Isha.
Yeah, absolutely. I think understanding your consumer plays a very, really important role. And yeah, those who wants to build their career in this field would really be great to know about it. So my next questions to Miss Sumedha. You have commanded units and led programs in the Indian Air Force. Now you are in this high stake finance. How did your experience as a squadron leader, leading with authority in a hierarchical setup, shape how you lead, decide, and empower teams in the corporate world?
So, thank you for that question, Isha. I will go back to, when I really commanded the unit. It started back in 2015. I commanded a unit of almost 200 people for 3 years plus. It was one of the best things about forces is that it doesn't differentiate between gender, whether at the entry, or the uniform you wear is the same. At least by the time I was for 10 years there, I never felt that I am at loss of opportunities because I'm a woman, right? However, there are nuances because of the cultural conditioning that we all come from. So when I was given this command, my predecessors were all either very senior male officers, hardly any women officer commanded that unit. And there are people below officer ranks who are almost, you are the commanding officer, and there were people, some of them, whose kids were, either older than me or they were of same age. So I knew that I'm wearing the rank. They will listen to me. However, what will convince them to listen to me? They might look at me like, oh, she's a female. They won't say it on my face. However, that that there can be a small thought in the head or an unconscious bias that does she know enough? She's my daughter's age. Will she know? Or maybe you compare with people in your own life. Nobody said this on my face. However, I was just cognizant of this fact that this is the reality. So why I'm bringing this example is because sometimes, not often, especially in the forces or some industries, it may happen that there are very few women, whether it's you got the seat on the table or otherwise as well. And then it becomes important to read the room, how people might think, or what are they, uh, what their perceptions are, because Indian society is very patriarchal to a certain extent even now. So my what I learned through my experience is that I need to break that unconscious bias. And how you break that is, I would say, I have this three things mantra, that know yourself first, right? That who you are, what you can bring, what is how you can connect with people, how and understanding the situation rather than saying that it doesn't exist, even if it may become sometimes even more uh, challenging for women to prove themselves. Not that they have to, but because of the environment, it could be a case that you have to outshine or outperform to get to a certain level. So I would say know yourself, that, we've been talking about this since the beginning of the session, that how important it is to be authentic. Then the second one is know your work. I don't think there is, or I firmly believe that there is no substitute for not knowing what you are bringing to the table. What it might take some time to build to that credibility, to deliver, to showcase that you can deliver. Maybe some situations arise, or consistent delivery also matters. So you know yourself, know your work. And I wouldn't say, for me it is all 33% for all these three pillars, is know your people. And the Air Force goes with the mission that it's people first mission always, right? So if you are as uh, good or as weak as you are as good as the weakest person in your team. Okay, because you can't do things alone. There has to be, it's a team effort. There are certain things which you do alone, but ultimately it takes the people or the collaboration, whether in the forces, whether in the corporate world. There might be some individual roles, however, still you need people to to contribute to it in a certain different way. So I would say these three things have worked for me back in the forces, and somehow they remained very close to me even when I navigated through corporate and the different roles within corporate. That there is no substitute for this, and for me, people are at heart of it. As long as whether you become an empathetic leader, or who's the person who will deliver what, that somebody everybody in the team is also at a different level of expertise, different level of what they can bring to the team. So understanding that and not treating everyone equally in that way, that how much responsibility versus you know what you can give it to the people, or how much you can trust. So that's also a leadership trait that you develop along with. And trust me, how many number of people you work with, how many different what Suchi was referring to, that she's building that muscle, or she's now very, very comfortable or confident about dealing with people from different cultural backgrounds. It still, somebody will come and change those thought process that you have made. It may not work. That's how complex or unique each of us are. So I would say stick to these three things. At least it's just a suggestion. You may have more ways to deal with it, but for me, these three things have no substitute. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Three mantras for life, and obviously, it brings so much light from your experiences to us. So, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. So, now my next question to Ms. Tula. HR holds the pen on policy. If you could rewrite one structural rule in corporate India tomorrow to make leadership more inclusive, what would be that rule be?
See, Isha, we've been talking about blurring of the gender lines. So we've spoken how gender lines, are becoming more blurred, with more and more male and female doing similar kind of jobs, and there's progress in that front. And we've also spoken about how the machine does not know the hand who's running it. So, in a nutshell, if that's the case, and in our industry, we always talk about action post strategizing. There's a constant need of what's the solution for the problem that we've identified, and how do we put it into practice? How do we make it practical? What's the solution? And then we put a kind of a deadline to it, and who's responsible and for those problems that we've identified, and the solutions. That action planning is very important in our industry. So whilst we're saying the lines are getting blurred, and if the way forward is machine, and the machine does not know the hand behind, then we also have to make it practically visible or structurally visible in the way that we operate in the corporate industry. When a female enters the corporate industry, maybe not for students who are going to enter from the campus to the corporate kind of a scenario, but as you grow in life, for a female, your biological clock starts ticking in. And today, whether you get married or not, you might want to have a kid. And when you have a kid, even if your family or extended family is liberal enough, or maybe supportive enough to support you during your pregnancy, during your maternity, during your childcare, corporates, by and large, restrict it as a maternity leave for females alone. The paternity leave today is still in a frame of 7 days, 10 days, 15 days, 1 month. Okay. But does the father not need to spend enough time with the child, or should the burden be only with the mother? Yes, mothers are a little more advantaged position to be able to do the job, because they're the one who've given birth to the child, so they're probably more physically close to the child as well. The structure, probably the policy, probably, if I had my say, would be to have a shared parental policy instead of a maternity or a paternity policy. And why a shared parental policy is from the data, from what has been happening so far, to say women leaders, all of us here would have spent a lot of time in our respective industry. You'd say it tapers like a opposite reverse funnel, when women join in bulks at the entry level, and then starts becoming thinner and thinner and thinner, and you have very few women leaders at the top. And the reason why that happens is because at some point of our career we start taking decisions, and we start balancing, or we start choosing work over life, or spending lesser time at work and more time at home. And you can't deny that, if you want to have a family, or if you want to spend more time with your parents, you need to give a lot more time to those ecosystem. And which is why many women opt out, and then they come back for their second innings. But what happens is that the continuity breaks, and then you are either sometimes forced to take a rating cut, or maybe a compensation cut, or maybe if something remains at the same level, you are required to continue in the same role with no further growth perspectives, and people who are at your peer would have already gone above. So a lot of complexities, and that's what we now calling break the ceiling, etc. But the current situation still remains at the fact that many women still compromise at a time when they feel, and I'm not saying they're forced, by choice, that you just take a little back seat, or maybe try to get into a role which is less demanding than what you were doing earlier, and all of that. But maybe the same does not happen for male up till now, and I think this is still country agnostic. Hence, the structural solution to the problem, if you want to blur the gender line, is to have a shared parental policy where both male and female can take, either of them, or shared between the two, can take the 26-week policy that we have between the two, and and actually go through the grind to be able to see what goes into it, and to be able to be more empathetic. Most of us do not learn by seeing and hearing. Most of us learn by actually doing it on the job. When you actually do that, then you get to understand, and then maybe the society or the corporates at large will be much more liberal in the way that they actually produce more leaders for the top. Currently, we are all talking. Men are also talking. They have taken a step ahead and have become allies for us, to say, okay, women should lead, and they should go to the top. But there's still, I believe, especially in our country, a long way to go. If you want to create more and more women leaders, you have to support them at that crux of the mid-career junction, where many as data says 65% women either take a back seat or move out of the job. So I think that's the point to hit. That's a nail to hit. And if that's sorted, the flow opens, floodgates open.
Sure. I'm so glad that you brought that up, and I think this is really important, and maybe in the future we can see this kind of changes bringing up, since the leaders are uh, the future are you, and the leaders are you. So definitely we'll see something like that coming up in the future. Thank you so much for adding. And now I will like to open the platform to all the students of IIM Kashipur to have their questions asked, if they have anything in their mind, and to talk to, relate to anything if they want to say or ask. So please go ahead, and you can raise your hands and ask any of the panelists. If anyone can help, yeah, I think I can see one hand raised. Please unmute, and you can go ahead with your question.
Yeah. Hello, ma'am. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for the wonderful session, and happy Women's Day to all the amazing ladies on the panel. So my question is generic to like everyone, any one of you can answer. So as we all know, like you guys know more, that leadership often comes with the constant pressure and expectations. And women are already known for being a multitasking and handling home and the office also. And being in the leadership role, there are more sessions of burnout, and you feel like it's getting too much. So how you handle this fatigue and how you deal with this thing? What practices you follow to deal with it? So I just want to know about that.
Thanks, Ramini, and happy Women's Day to you as well. If I may go ahead, I think this is a real problem. It's not something that we can't say that we are leaders and we are immune to it, or anybody who's in that in that stage or going through those phases. However, certain things, discipline and consistency in the practices or the beliefs that you do, I think are very underrated. Sometimes we say that we don't have 10 minutes to close our eyes and just sit and process everything, whether you call it meditation, you call it mindfulness. There are different words and terms, I personally feel even if you can forget everything and dance on a song for 10 minutes, without knowing what is happening, without even that's a sort of meditation. But whatever clicks with you, whether it's yoga, whether it's 30 minutes to 45 minutes of workouts, you do it daily or a couple of days a week. I think these are not just the things that yes, after COVID, we are talking about it more openly. We are talking, there is more awareness. And another aspect to it, what I feel is there's more awareness because the life has become so hectic, so stressful or so fast changing that we need to ground ourselves somewhere or the other. So to inculcate these practices, early on in your life, which becomes your second nature, is something I would say. And it's not a quick fix that, okay, today it may, help you that today you're feeling bad and you have a session with your friend, or talk heart to heart or do 10 minutes meditation. It may feel better, but to build that as a muscle or as your second nature, it will take discipline and consistency. So whatever works for you, even if you're working towards it, that what is clicking for you at different phases of life, I would say get that. Whether it's a game, don't say that I don't have time. We will have to create time, and that comes with saying no. As women, we may find ourselves at many a times, maybe not, you all are very young right now in college, or with very limited experience of work ex. But as you grow, as the families grow, sometimes we take it as a guilt to say no to certain things. And nobody's losing our love, nobody's gonna feel bad about it. So setting those boundaries to protect yourself, because if you are whole and if you are confident, and if you are, I don't think you can take care of others around you until you're taking care of yourself. So I'll leave it at that.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
just to echo on what Sumedha has mentioned, I think, expectation and pressure are, very much a part of our
Real.
day-to-day work. Yeah, they're very much, real. So they are inherent, right? As you can say. So I would suggest, three things. I think Sumedha has shared her words of wisdom, but the three principles that I deliberately practices, that first is that I always clarify the North Star. What it means is that, when there's a lot of pressure, we often get, overwhelmed by the task. Oh, have to do this. Oh, have to do that. Right. So I try to bring myself as well as my team back to a single question: what outcome truly matters most here? And when that particular intent or the purpose is clear, a lot of noise disappears. Second is that, I always try to separate urgency from importance. You all might have gone through, being MBA students, you might have gone through the Eisenhower matrix, right? So there is a 2 by 2 matrix which talks about what's important, what's urgent, what actually demands your attention right away, and what is something that you can defer for a later time. So in these kind of fast moving environments that we are living in, everything can appear urgent. Oh, I have to do this. Oh, I have to do that. But then not everything is equally important. So try to understand the difference between urgency and importance. And leaders, as leaders, we need to create a space to think. Otherwise, we risk making very fast decisions that might move us in the wrong direction. I won't say always, but many a times. And the third and very important is that I try to normalize intelligent imperfection. Now, when I say intelligent imperfection, what does it mean is that when expectations are very high, right, and pressure is equally paramount over there, teams sometimes feel that they must get everything right immediately. So my guidance to them is get something first there, and then we can make it perfect later on. Because innovation requires iteration, right? Creativity requires a certain thought process, certain calculated risk taking. So I do try to encourage myself as well as the teams that I'm working with to focus on the learning velocity rather than the perfection in the first attempt. And perseverance and consistency do remain the underneath and underlying principle. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, ma'am, absolutely. Thank you so much.
Yeah, Tanmay, go ahead.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for the amazing session and happy Women's Day to all. My question is kind of a generic one. In current time, many companies are claiming that they support women leaders and all. And from your perspective and work experience, what is the actual difference between like being symbolic in that thing and being real about it? Where does the line is drawn, and what are the different outcomes that come in those situations?
If I may just start the conversation and my other fellow panelists can take it over. You spoke about symbolic and not so symbolic. You have the answer to the question of for the day that is there today. Today is Women's Day. We are celebrating women, but not to say this is the only day that you should celebrate women and you forget the rest of the days, because like every day is Valentine's Day, every day is Women's Day too. So these days are all commemoration of achievements, or maybe to put a special focus on a certain agenda each day, one day each topic. But the essence lies throughout. You cannot, if you're talking about leadership, culture, diversity, changing the corporates, doing things the technical way, and also maintaining our authentic self at work, it cannot be a one day job. It can never be. It can never be a symbolic aspect if you want to do anything which is a long term or which is a sustainable impact. It has to be day in and day out. You have to do it every day over and over and over again to be able to achieve that. So that was my point, and my fellow, colleagues here my panelists can take it over from here.
I think there are some hands raised. Vihana.
Yeah, Vihana, you can ask that question. We will take one last question, after which, because of the paucity of time. Go ahead, Vihana.
Good afternoon, all, and happy Women's Day. So my question is like I'm a fresher, and as an MBA student, which after a year I'm preparing to enter the corporate world. What key skills or mindset should a woman develop early to grow into the leadership position?
Patience.
Resilience, meticulousness. I think there are many, and it is not just for women, I would say.
Yeah.
I think it equally applies to our male counterparts. It is more about resilience. I think Tila mentioned about patience, perseverance, consistency, meticulousness, and the will to actually think outside the box, not just always think what's right, or go with, instead of just going with the norm, think outside the box, what could be the more impactful and long sustainable solution that can help all of us.
Yeah.
And I think one more thing that I would put is, willingness to speak up.
Yeah.
All of us in the beginning of our careers have been dealt with self-doubt, wherein we were not sure if what we are saying is making sense and whether we will be singled out. So, feel free to speak up. No question is a wrong question. No question is a stupid question when you're beginning your career, or even in the later parts of your career. Feel confident to speak up and make your own way. Don't wait for power to be given to you. Create it through your presence is how I would see it.
I think I would like to add, where you are sitting today. Maybe I was also sitting just 6.5 years back, especially coming from the forces to the corporate. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how the corporate world looks like, because immediately after engineering, I went to the forces where you can't use the social media, where you are not, you're restricted to interact with the people outside, right? Because of the nature of the job. So I know this jitter, that jitteriness is real, that you don't know, because it's the uncertainty that what lies on the other side, that will I be able to do? We keep questioning ourselves. I don't know how the corporate world looks like. I don't know how to navigate there. I don't know how will I do the work? What is the work that I need to do? So I would say just take one day at a time. If it is your studies and you are interacting with people and you are interacting with industry people or your seniors, or going for the interviews, placements, and everything. Once you are there, stay curious throughout, not only in the beginning, I would say. Stay curious throughout your career. It also kind of embeds with the speak up, what we say. When you are curious, when you're asking questions to learn, that ask those questions that I want to know. How can I put it up? How can I become better? How can I contribute? Rather than the narrative being, oh, I'm new, I don't know what to do, and nobody has taught me. Trust me, there might be some knowledge sessions, but there's no written guidelines for you to do. Colleges are very sacred space. They tell us, they nurture us, what to do. But the world, there will be people guiding you, but you also need to reach out to those people to ask or seek that help and guidance. So I would say it's no rocket science, honestly. If we all have survived, you will survive too. We were sitting on that side of the table a couple of years ago. So the jitteriness and because it's an unknown territory, it's real. However, at the same time, trust in yourself that you will be able to do it. And I personally, I think I get inspired. Thanks to IIM Kashipur, I would say that it's the best way to celebrate Women's Day today, along with all of you and so many wonderful women on the panel. I have myself learned so much through their journeys. So if this 2-hour session can be so powerful, trust me, if you build those relationships within your organization or outside, they will really help you along the way. So yeah.
Yeah, and I would just add one thing is if you're planning to pursue a career in marketing, make yourself very literate on the commercials of running a business. I think that'll be a unique differentiating factor for you if you're joining careers above and beyond being fearless and having a point of view and continuing your learning journey. Please invest time in understanding the financials of business. Marketing is not a support function, it's a front and center function. So if it's marketing, I would say financial literacy is very important.
Yeah. And do show up, right? Many a times as a fresher, we think, oh, what will I do there? Or I don't have any specific role. It's okay. Be an observer. Be just, curious, as Sumita did mention about, inquisivity. So be a lifelong learner, learn it all, and most importantly, show up where you are requested.
Great. I think this was really amazing time, and I wish this could go on and on because we had a lovely time learning from all of you leaders. But I we have few more questions, but I think due to time uh, and also I can surely say that you would it would be really great if you can answer, but we had to due to paucity of time. So thank you so much for being here. If there's one thing to take away today, power is not about position, it is about impact. So the choice to live as you grow, the choice to lead with empathy, the choice to create impact without waiting for permission. The women on the stage have shown us that leadership isn't about being heard, it's about making sure others are heard too. So, redefining power isn't about taking a seat at the table, it's about changing what the table stands for. So, thank you so much, all, for your time and wisdom of words and the mantras that you have shared with us. So, over to you, Tushar, or anybody from IIC.
So, as we conclude this insightful discussion, a few powerful ideas actually stood out. Ms. Sudeshna highlighted how leadership today is moving beyond rigid hierarchies towards something that is more flatter and a collaborative ecosystem. Miss Tulana Hina reminded us that while technology continues to evolve, emotional intelligence and empathy remain timeless leadership strengths. Miss Suchitra emphasized the importance of listening, reflection, and strengthening our empathy muscles. She also mentioned the fact that she's from Kerala, which I can also relate to. And also, like, I remembered my mother, like, doing. And also, Miss Aparna spoke about the need for clarity and structured thinking in relationships, while Miss Sumeda highlighted the value of open communication, fearlessness, and embracing diverse perspectives. Ms. Rashmi Sharma beautifully reminded us that there is no single template for leadership. What truly matters is the value or impact that a particular person brings to the table. We extend our heartfelt gratitude to our esteemed panelists for sharing their invaluable experiences and thoughts on leadership today. Your unique journeys from the armed forces and global technology to finance, HR, and analytics have deeply inspired all of us. And also a special appreciation or gratitude to our moderator, Isha, for guiding this conversation so gracefully. We also sincerely thank our faculty, including Professor Kunal Ganguly, who is the Dean Development, Professor Utkarsh, Professor Deepak Verma, Mr. Ravi Gupta, and Mr. Abhishek Pant, along with all other stakeholders for their guidance and support in making Advika a resounding success. Let us carry forward the lessons that we learned today for to foster a brighter and more inclusive future together. And again, happy Women's Day to each and everyone. Also, before we officially log off, we request all the panelists and the audience members to briefly turn on their cameras for a virtual group photograph. Okay. With that, we conclude Advika, the Women's Day Conclave. Thank you everyone for joining us online today. Have a wonderful evening. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Sam.
Thanks,
Have a good
everyone. Take
day.
care.
Thank you,
Bye.
everybody.
Thank you and happy Women's Day, everybody.
Yeah, happy Women's Day to all the ladies, girls, all around.
Cheers all. Bye.
Bye.